Welcome to the weekend edition of the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. I'm Michael Thompson and hello, Sean Aylmer.
Hello, Michael.
Sean, on weekdays, it's all about the Fast 5, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. On the weekend, we are still going to keep it to 5 minutes, of course, but we are going to pick out the biggest business story of the week, the most remarkable story, a sleeper story, one that's flying under the radar a bit, and then our favourite story. I think we are united, Sean. There is one big story of the week, and that was the inauguration of Donald Trump, and it happened on Tuesday morning, Australian time. It was a spectacle. There were all the billionaires, like the tech billionaires, all these kind of leaders, everyone there kind of to witness him being sworn in for a second time. And then, didn't the new president he wasted no time whatsoever, a flurry of executive orders being issued, a crackdown on illegal immigration, freeze on new regulations. There was a freeze on hiring in the federal bureaucracy, workers returning to the office full time, federal diversity, equity and inclusion staff being put on paid leave with a view to laying them off. He withdrew from the Paris Climate Treaty, changed the rules around new vehicles being sold by 2030 to all be half of them to be EVs, more oil drilling. He pulled out of the World Health Organization, issued a whole bunch of pardons, 1,500 for people that were involved in the January 6 riots, a bunch of others as well. So much stuff. And that was pretty much all in the first, 24 to 48 hours, Sean?
Just throw in a few tariffs on Canada, Mexico, China, maybe the European Union telling OPEC and Saudi Arabia to cut the price of oil. Wow. Cracking first 5 days from Donald Trump.
Yeah, really quite extraordinary. It could also be the most remarkable story if we wanted as well, but we're going to nominate a couple of other ones here as well. Sean, what did you pick out?
Well, the pointy end of the retail story happened this week. The shake-up in the retail sector has been going on for a while. This week, though, we had Myer shareholders agreeing to taking over Premier's apparel brands. That means the 124-year-old department store ends up owning Just Jeans, Dotti, Portman's, JJ's and Jackie E. The new retailer will have 783 large format stores, and specialty stores employ 17,000 people, $5 billion in sales. Sorry, I'll say that again, $4 billion in sales and $250 million in earnings. Then we had the decision to close all 136 Rivers stores across the country. The receivers for a crowd called Mosaic Brands decided that Rivers needed to go. That means that Mosaic Brands, the companies under them, Rivers, Rockman's, Autograph, Crossroads, W Lane, B Me and Katie's, have now all closed. They're still trying to find a buyer for Miller's and Nonny B.
Yeah, and there was another story this week, Sean, that ties neatly into that, the fact that we can expect this year 16,000 business failures. We had 11,000 or so last financial year. It's a 50% increase, just demonstrates just how much pressure is on Australian business right now. Sleeper story of the week. Have you found one for us, Sean?
Look, there's some interesting stats out this week. The Bureau of Statistics said that 43,000 new dwellings were built in the first 3 months of the National Housing Accord. That's till the end of September last year. 43,000. The government's target is 60,000. Still a long way from that. In fact, Canberra's provided $3.5 billion in payments to states, territories and local governments to make sure we get to that 60,000, but the run rate's just 43,000. What has the government done? Well, yesterday it came out and announced a $10,000 bonus to apprentices who work in the residential housing sector, part of a bigger package that the government is trying to push to achieve its ambitious housing goal. $10,000 is a lot of money for an apprentice who earns around $50,000 a year. A big challenge in building houses is finding fundies. The government's out there trying to boost housing, and I reckon this is a pretty smart way of doing it. What about you? What's your sleeper story?
Oh, look, mine was it's really mentioned kind of in passing this week, Sean. The RBA is looking into surcharges and the payment system. Commonwealth Bank has called on surcharges on credit cards and debit cards to be dropped. The government already plans to dump debit card surcharges next year. They need the RBA approval for it, but Commonwealth Bank wants them to go even further and drop the surcharges on credit cards. The thing is, you have other organisations like the airlines coming out and say, hey, if you drop the credit card surcharge, we're going to have to bump up prices overall because we won't be able to kind of add on those fees specifically to the people that are paying with credit cards. Everyone's going to have to carry that. So there's two sides to this, but watch this space because it's likely we will have some change in the surcharge arena, if that is such a thing, Sean. I
think so. Can I tell you about my favourite story?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, it was the auction last weekend of a 1969 Porsche used in the Steve McQueen film Le Mans in 1975. It got to $40 million at the auction, and then it was withdrawn from the auction, somewhat surprisingly. Now, the current owner, according to media reports, is Jerry Seinfeld. He bought it for $6 million in 2002. it was taken off the market. Bunch of other cars sold on the day. The one I liked most of all was the 1967 Jaguar ED Type Roadster used in the Austin Powers movies, otherwise known as the Shaguar. It went for $1.4 million. The all-time record for the sale of a car was a Mercedes-Benz 1955 Coupe, sold for $142 million a couple of years ago.
That is extraordinary. Very, very quickly, my favourite story was just how much stuff happened in airlines this week. Sean, we had Qantas overhauling its frequent flyer program. Qantas' share price hit a record high. You had the federal government stepping in with another $50 million to help keep Rex, the failed airline, operating so that towns and regional centres in Australia remain connected. We've got stats on airline on-time performance. It's getting better, still not great. And ticket prices were 6% lower in December than the previous year. Bit of a mix of good and bad news, but any story about airlines to me is good news, Sean.
Yeah, you love the airlines.
Indeed, I do. There we go. 5 minutes and pretty much everything you need to know in the world of business. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thanks, Michael.
We'll be back on Monday morning with the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Don't forget to hit follow and join us online on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook and X. I'm Michael Thompson, and this is the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed.